Target 46 is applications of exponentials. This is material that you will be seeing again on the grad standard for trimester 2, so you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to this. Target 46 is that whole concept of things growing on an exponential curve. And as they grow on an exponential curve, we've been using a multiplier to find the next one. So right now what we're going to be asked is write an exponential equation. So you have to know what that's going to look like. It's going to look like y equals a times b to the x. A is our initial value, what it starts at. B is our multiplier. What are we multiplying by each time to make our pattern? So each of these are pretty important. This is the one we calculate. This is the one we take from the story. So if I read the problem, Jeff purchased a Joe Mauer rookie card back in 2007 for $20. The value he checked again was 2011 was $28. So this is my initial value right here. That number I take from the story because it was the $20 that he had spent originally on the card. So this number right there is going to go into our problem for our A value. Now we need to calculate to find our B value. Well, we had it change. It changed from 20 to 28. If you were to look at this like it was a table, your table would say, well, in 2007 it was $20. In 2011 it was $28. Well, what we've been doing throughout the year is if we know it's multiplication based, we've been doing next divided by previous. I take the next one in the table divided by the previous one above it. So in this case it would be 28 divided by 20, because then I can figure out what multiplication happened for that to happen. Next divided by previous. And then I can see over here that this was 4 years later. So that's where the 4 comes from when I take the what I call the nth root. The nth root means the number of moves that you had from 7 to 11 is 4, so we need to take the 4th root of 28 divided by 20. And that gives us our multiplier, our B value. So when you go to your calculator, you just simply type it in as 4 math, and then we're going to take the 5th choice. So 4 math 5, and that 4 goes up in there, and then parentheses 28 divided by 20. Some of you are not putting parentheses there, and then all it's going to do is it's going to take the 4th root of 28. Whoops, we don't want that. We want the 4th root of 28 divided by 20 all in one step. Then hit enter, and I get this 1.0877 number. Now 1.0877 is going to round, and depending upon what the question says to go to 2 decimal places or 3, if you're going to 2 decimal places you would cut here, but then look at this number. If it's 5 or higher, then we're going to have 1.09. If the test or quiz said round to 3 decimal places, you'd go out 3 decimal places, look at that, and that's going to round that up to an 8. So you'd have 1.088. So one of these two answers is probably what you're going to get as a preferred choice in doing this. So if we put that all together, and voila, we're going to make an equation. We would go y equals the A value, the initial value of what it started at. He bought it for $20, and it was multiplying by either one of these. So let's just use the 1.09 into the x power. Now, the follow-up question is, the equation shows an increase or decrease of blank percent on average per year. Well, it's over the number 1. The number 1 represents 100%. We're always talking about the moves from 100%. How far away is it from the number 1? So in this case, if you think about what's happening, we're at 1.09. Well, if I was at plain 1.0, 1.0 is one whole of something, 100% of an item. So in this case, we're at 109%. Because if I move this decimal back 2 places, I would be at 109%. That's 9% growth. I'm above 100%. So that's what I look at here. It would be an increase of 9%. Now, in this next example, it's a bigger number shrinking down to a smaller number. Therefore, it's a decrease, and I just have to figure that out. So my initial value was 1250, so my equation is going to be y equals 1250, because that's what I started with in 2010, and then 2 years later is worth that. Well, 2 times something to the x power is what I'm going to have here. Take that number right from the problem. That's my initial value. Now I'm going to take 1250 divided by 10, and I'm going to take the second root. And by the way, the second root is better known as the square root. So I can just go second square root of 1250 divided by 10, and my calculator starts a parentheses for me. I'm kind of lucky, and I get this number. That doesn't seem right. Oh, I did previous divided by next. Huh, some of us are guilty of that. It's next divided by previous. Next was 10 divided by previous. I knew it was wrong because I got a number over 1, which shows growth, but the dollars went down. Huh, good catch. So it's the square root of 10 divided by 1250. That's going to give me what I'm looking for, which is this 0.8944 number. And depending upon how your teacher wants to round it to 2 decimal places or 3 or whatever, if I go 2 decimal places, that's a 4, so it's going to keep it. So my multiplier was 0.89, and 0.89, how far away is 0.89 from 1 or 100%? Well, 0.89 is like having 89%, because if I move that over 2 places, that's 89%. So 100% minus 89% is going to show me that I'm at 11% decrease in value. So then this becomes 11% as my answer. So the whole idea of doing the next divided by previous and then doing the nth root, that concept is something we've used extensively. That's how we find our multiplier, our b value, and then our a value is the initial value that you're given in the story.